The NFL stands for not for long.
Yep. Second down and goal from just inside the 2. Backs offset. Sharga and Armstead. Rollout. Walker still running out. Looks to the left. Wide open. Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of
a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofton corner the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
So they get left behind. I can't let you go. I won't let you know. I'm coming in your wine.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Not For Long Media. We appreciate you supporting us. We hope you enjoyed episode 1, a tribute to the late, great John Chaney. Some awesome guests. Thank you guys again, Harry, Mike, and Kevin, for joining. And we have an awesome guest today, guys, a character, Shaun Latham of $20 Chef, formerly of Barstool Sports. He's a comic that's been seen on Comedy Central. He is just so funny. He commentates for ESPN now, for Cornhole, which has been seen a lot on ESPN. He's a 5-tool player, in my opinion, when it comes to work ethic, creativity. He's open-minded. He's funny. He's just a cool guy. His podcast, Gunz Blazin, check it out. You can find him on social media, at Shaun Latham, at $20 Chef. Just a heads up, guys, there is some explicit words in this, so if that's an uncomfortable thing to you, maybe don't listen with the kids in the car. A few F-bombs here and there out of Shaun. Not for me. It's not my stick on air. But yeah, it's a little explicit and definitely something you want to listen, maybe not with those of age. Not For Long Media is very thankful for the support, especially from these two businesses. Wealth Advisory Services, a personalized approach to managing wealth. David Jenkins, Paul Krumenacker. They're in Doylestown, Bucks County for those local. But again, they work with people across the area, across the country that put their trust in them. My family has for over a decade now, and especially with the NFL money that I made this year, way more than I have. I had to figure out, okay, what do I need to do? How do I prepare for my next step? And they've done a great job helping me, communicating and explaining to me really the best way to manage my money. But it doesn't matter. It's all incomes. It's all knowledge levels. I don't have a ton of knowledge about really the market or what's ahead, but Paul and Dave do a great job really helping me and really setting my family up, which is key. And they do a great job. And I know some people that have worked with them, helping them with their retirement. So wealthadvisoryservices.com, check them out. If you don't know them, you should. They do a great job. Paul, Dave, tell them we sent you. Also, the Fudge Kitchen, the original Fudge Kitchen. They ship fudge, saltwater taffy. St. Patty's Day, I talked about that on episode 1, is coming up. I'm not talking about booze, folks. I'm talking about Irish potatoes. Delicious. They ship across the country. 50 years of business. That's consistency. Hopefully we can do 50 years of podcasting. That'd be great. They know how to do it right. They really do. Check them out. FudgeKitchens.com. Wealth Advisory Services, FudgeKitchens.com. Thank you for support. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, please email me, notforlongmedia.com. Thanks to our sponsors. And now we're going to send it over to just a character. I know I use that word a lot, but that's the best way to describe this guy. Shaun Latham, $20 Chef. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we're coasting. Nothing in the world could ever take this from me. Alive with the feeling that your loving gives me. We're coasting. Yeah, we're coasting. No one can interrupt my groove today. Been watching gray skies move away.
Well, what a treat we have. This is a big one for me personally, and someone I admire. Shaun, how we doing today, man?
Buddy, thanks for having me on your show. I'm actually a fan of yours. When you followed me, I was like, what's going on here? And then we started chatting, and here we are. I appreciate you for the invite.
No problem. So full disclosure, and people are going to learn this about a lot of the big guests we have on, is when I get a blue check mark, I just started going to work. I'm like, all right, if these people are going to follow me back, I'm going to shoot them a DM. I'm going to slide into everyone's DMs, as many as I can. I am getting married in June. I'm not talking about the ladies. I'm talking about some high-profile guests like Shaun here. And I just said, man, I got to hit these guys up. So Shaun hit me back, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to. And this was I don't know, probably early time last year. And the XFL ended, and then I rebooted the podcast after my first year with the Panthers. So it's a pleasure, man. What are you up to now? Where are you at?
I'm in Jersey, near by Belmar. I just got back from Florida. I'm a cornhole guy. Ever since I worked with Pat McAfee and we started playing in his office all the time because we had that big ass office, I got hooked. Plus, everybody in Indiana plays, so I started playing, backyard shit. And then I started playing at Pat, and I started getting good because we play every day at work. We're playing for money, and no one could beat him, but there was always a race for that number 2 spot. And then when I moved to New York, we started playing. I started working with the actual pros, the ACL guys, and doing promo stuff. Like I went and did hosted one of their celebrity charity events with Tito Ortiz and their pros in LA. And then I just kept the relationship. And then when Barstool ended, I've always wanted to play in that Super Bowl game, because they either have guests or they have fans or non-superstars playing with superstars. So I was trying to slide my shit in there, and ended up working out to where I do commentary. And I'm like, I'll do commentary. So I got to get on ESPN2 yesterday. Oh no, Friday night I was on ESPN2. Me and my lazy eye were shining. And just playing cornhole, man, doing commentary on their digital network. They have a great setup. So they have a side, they have a side courts where you could they have this awesome setup of their digital network, and you're just sitting there doing it was me and my partner Todd McComas switching off games on their digital network, working on our commentary game on cornhole, learning the players, all of the extra stuff we don't know, all the little moves that they do that none of us in backyards do, the bounce shot and cut shots and shit. And it was just a great weekend, man. Just, you get to – I love any pro sport where it's encouraged that the athletes drink. And that's where I knew where I belong.
I love it. Now, what happened this weekend there? You texted me, you're like, dude, I just did 14 hours of cornhole. I don't know if that was physically possible. Take us through, how it started, how the day finished, like what happened in between. Do you guys get breaks? Like, will they work you like a horse? How'd that work? How'd that go?
Well, personally, so we have to wake up at 7. So for Friday, we wake up at 7 o'clock. We're at the courts. They got a huge area. So it was at the Advent Health Field House, and they got 64 sets of boards set up, with the score thing and the tablets. They got a hell of a system. I mean, you don't even have to register. This guy invented a software that you roll it. It's all via text. So once you register online, you're in there. All the 232 of the 252 pros were there. You get in, all right, you get a text what court you're on. When you keep score on the tablet, and it tracks every possible stat. I mean, it's like some NFL level shit. They tell you how many points you average per round. So even if you score 10 but you lose the round, you still add it up. And then it all just goes back and forth between all the tablets to their system and the text messages, and then as people get eliminated, they work their way up to the ESPN court. So we were doing commentary all day there. We were also doing, live streams. I did some live stream cooking with some of the people there, some players and their hosts, and I did. We did man on the street stuff, and we're just helping out wherever we can. But a lot of commentary, which led up to the ESPN thing at night. We took a break in the afternoon, and I took a little hour nap, and then smoked a bowl, took a nap, and then smoked a bowl, ate quick Outback Steakhouse. I let everybody, you make everything content, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to lunch. And I had 3 corporate spots around us. So I was like, where should I guys go on Twitter? Where should I go? And I put a poll up. I got Outback, Olive Garden, and Red Lobster. And so they just decide where I go to lunch. So I'm all right, I'm going to Outback, And then you just send pictures. You just play along. After 1,000 people vote, you go, all right, well, I'm going to fucking Outback for lunch. And then we just go back. Then you're there for the broadcast. You're watching the games. Then the broadcasts end at like 10 or whatever. You hang out, maybe play a couple, stream those. So just kind of like that really is what the whole day was. But, it's just basically it's hard to consider it a work or a job because I'm just drinking a couple of beers. I'm not getting hammered. You just have a few beers throughout the day, and play cornhole and do commentary. And then, being on ESPN was pretty wild. That was pretty awesome. And that was it. I mean, it was just, yeah. It was fun, man. It was a really good time.
You were talking about popping on doing some cooking. That's how we connected. Was $20 Chef and your videos and you're drinking and you're doing your deal. And I was like, this guy's a freaking man. Like, who is this guy? That's why I wanted to connect. So what were you cooking with the cornhole people? How did that come about? You're just like, hey, someone's whipping something up, or they set that up for some content?
Well, when we started having our meetings, they said, "Hey, we want you to be on our commentary team," and then work. Now they work with DraftKings, and now it's legal to gamble on cornhole. So now with DraftKings, they have this weekly. I also did a DraftKings at 9:15 on Saturday morning. I went over there and we pre-recorded the DraftKings gambling show basically for the cornhole doubles finals. So me and Trey Ryder, who's the main guy, commentary and personality for American Cornhole League on ESPN and everything. Me and him, we did our own DraftKings pregame show, and that was that was awesome. And that aired later on all the DraftKings social medias. But while we were in the meetings, I was like, well, listen, I'll just do. They have a grill sponsor. They have a Johnsonville sponsorship. I'm like, it's perfect. Yeah. I'll just go live outside the doors. I'll set up a grill. It got a little complicated because then, the venue's like, you can't do that right there. And then we got to move out way far where the internet's all fucked up and it's windy. So we had to deal with a little bit of that. But that's what we do. So all right, great. So now I'm on the schedule. I'll do a live stream cooking this time and this time each day. And, I'll tell them, hey, whoever you want to send out, whatever pros, the guys that I already know, and then Trey, they could come out and just hang out. I just made Johnsonville's, sausages and cheeseburgers. And
I love it. Do they have a beer sponsorship? Do they have a beer sponsorship?
They don't yet. They don't. So, which is wild to me. Like, who's not getting in on that? I don't get it.
Yeah, cornhole, beer, Johnsonville sausage. I mean, that's like the ideal thing. Talk about your sponsorship, beer-wise. Are you still with the company you're with? I don't want to give them a shout out unless you still are.
You know what? We're still talking. We're still working on it. I'm one of their smaller clients now, so we had already a 6-figure deal in place for the year, and then obviously that was with Barstool. So then when I separated from Barstool, I'm trying to do that with myself. I mean, I'm not going to get that much now. I don't assume as high figures that I was going to get, but I'm just trying to get whatever we can just afford to pay for production and just to pay an editor and a producer. Still working on it, and other stuff too. I got some other small stuff, but I've had a lot of good little gems. It's always going to be a little bit hard. Like stepping off a platform like Barstool onto my own. Like, who do you think you are? Like you're on the Barstool platform. I'm like, well, I think it's awesome and I love that job, but I also feel like after that many years, the people who were going to love me already loved me, and new people kind of trickle in, but the diehards like what they like. So I think I got my some thousand followers and 90,000 on Instagram, and I feel like I'm grateful, and it was a great separation. But I don't know, like I just feel like there's got to be more. There's got to be, can I get on Hulu? Can I get on Netflix? Can I get on Food Network? Can I get on Comedy Central? And so that's basically what's happening now. I'm just trying to, I got my own, me and my partner Todd, we started a podcast, Gunz Blazin Co-Host. There we go. Got that merch. And I just want to go bigger. I did well with them, and I know everybody there is an awesome boss. But I guess, I'm 42, and am I 41 or 42? I really don't know. I think I'm 41. I could be 42.
You're 31. You just, had a rough life. You don't look. Yeah. You don't look. That's
technically, I'm 31.
I got a buddy down here in Cape May. He's 45, and whenever, he's a single guy, and Sydney will bring some of her, lacrosse friends in town. Sydney, my fiance, goes lacrosse in Florida. They're all from Maryland, so they'll drive up to Jersey and we hang out. And whenever Scott's around, he's like, yeah, I'm really like 35. I look a little older. I had a rough, 2 tours, even though he did not serve. 2 tours could be just 2 tours around town, that's what we say. So, yeah. Now, you talked about content a little bit. I want to hit on that. You said, everything's content. I make everything content. And that's the world we live in today. It's content driven. I'm working on that personally. I used to be the guy hey, don't post, man. Just do ball. But I'm doing more content. I'm not saying the ball's under control, but I'm saying I'm in a spot now where I can do some more. How'd you get that mindset? That was something, right? It's changed over the years because that's the world we live in now. But was that a before Barstool thing, or is that something that Barstool pushed agenda-wise for you, and now you incorporate it in your own life?
Well, I guess I never had organized content. Before Barstool, I do my, $20 Chef started as me doing cooking on Snapchat, really. When Snapchat started, I got on, it was end of 2015 or something. And I started just cooking on there and talking shit and having fun. And then, I had a few hundred followers or whatever on Snapchat. And then they would all like it. There was this is awesome, and I always get so I started doing it. They started motivating me. And I was doing it more and more. And then that's when I met Pat McAfee. And then he liked it. He would start commenting on my shit, sending me DMs and stuff. And then we started working after we started working together, he was like, well, what do you want to do for content? Like, what do you want to do? Like video series? Like if we give you that, what do you want to do? And I was like, I mean, I'll try. I do this cooking thing on Snapchat. People kind of enjoy it. I guess I could try a cooking show. And so we worked on names together, and he pretty much came up with $20 Chef. And then we just started like trying it. I just, for a couple of months, I just filmed and tried to get, something that was funny that could work. And he worked with me a lot on it. He's responsible for a large part of the start of it. I mean, he's completely responsible for it, really, outside of actually being the part where being me, and the original idea. But I brought him this raw idea and what I thought and what I wanted to do. It started off, I was like, well, I'll just go to firehouses and cook with them. And we're going to do like a firehouse thing, and
That's cool.
But then we kind of realized, he was like, it's kind of pigeonholing yourself because, how much can you get out of firehouses 55 times? Like, so I was like, okay. So we just started doing the kitchen, and he always had like great input. And, and then he gave me he gave me the team to do it. And when he hired me at Barstool, we started doing it, and it hit really hard, nice early, and started getting sponsorships early. So that's when I started moving to 2 episodes a week because, to sell, we already sold out that many episodes. So he goes, hey, they want to know if you'll do 2 a week. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do 2 a week. It's nothing. I'm so used to like, you have to get up and, if you want to get a weekend of stand up, you have to drive here, you have to drive however far or, spend the money you don't have to fly there. And then hopefully get the, even if you get a headliner booking, it's just so much more it takes to outside of writing to get places to do stand up as opposed to just turning on a camera in my living room or my kitchen and just start cooking here. And then some other guy edits it all. Like it was,
I feel the same way about like football. Everyone's like, wow, you're doing all these podcasts. I coach football. I do some different things in the off season where I'm involved in. I'm like, this is fun. Like I was an office coordinator of a high school football team. During the season, I was in Carolina and I would write the practice scripts and do all the stuff at night. And I just did football for 12 hours. Like this is another version of football. Yeah, it is high school football, but it's fun for me. This is like, how did so-and-so do a practice today? What's his weight? How's he feeling? Do we need to get him some more food? Like, how's he doing in school? These kids are eligible. What can I help with? Somebody send him a text. So things like that. That's my escape. So when you talk about like your escape, like this, you're like, well, not your escape, but it became your job or your second job, right? You're like, all right, I'm doing comedy, which was a grind, I'm sure, and we'll get into that. I'm doing, now I'm going to be a chef on TV for like a 20-minute clip, max, like sign me up.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just at home anyways, like I'm already here.
That's
it's the same thing you're doing.
That's the beauty of this world we're in now. Like Zoom's easy. I didn't mean to cut you off, but everything's
you're right.
It's weird. You can work from home.
Yeah. I mean, and especially like hanging out with Pat for so long, I see like once the season ends, like you guys are just like, you have that time, really put how, like you can obviously, professional athletes make a pretty good amount of money. So, you can spend it just relaxing or chilling or traveling, which is, I love to do. Like, it'd be, I mean, I'm not in that position, but I would see myself, I'd be taken off or obviously in a non-COVID point. But then when we started working, like we started like, Pat, we got this time. Like, we could just do a podcast. You're a funny motherfucker. Let's do some stuff. And that's when we started working. It was in his off season. So, I mean, I could see that, with, you seem like a dude that, you got a lot, you're a motivated dude. And even a podcast, like it's not hard per se when you look at like a football schedule, but there is a lot of stuff that does go into it. There's a lot of things you have to do and be consistent.
Exactly. That's the hardest part with these. And I just added a team and, everyone, these are all recorded and they're going to come out a little delayed, but everyone's already met the team already on social media and et cetera. And I was doing it solo. I've started 3 different podcasts now and solo for the last 4 years on and off. And this is the 4th version of it. And this is the legit one. And it has nothing to do with me now being in the NFL. It's just, okay, I have the resources to find the resources to help me, which is nice. So, it's key. And don't get me wrong. I was in Key West for the last month in January hanging out. And I have family, friends down there, and that was great. That's like home away from home for me. I grew up down there to some extent, and my parents have been going there for 40 years. They've owned places down there. I'm extremely blessed. So my family got a place there for the month. I had friends down, and I was just I just shut it down, man. So talk about Pat McAfee, because Pat is just huge. He was on Get Up this morning.
Dude.
Everyone's sending me videos of him talking about, I love to hear and learn about these prop bets, or like, is this going to be a touchback? And the whole thing, Pat's breaking down why it's not going to be a touchback. Guys, check out that video of why Pat McAfee hit the nail on the head of why the ball was not going to be a touchback. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but essentially, I'm on kickoff return. I'm the third tight end. That's a normal spot for the third tight end. So I played both these teams this year. Tampa twice, Kansas City once. So I stand back there and I'm like, okay, is the ball going to land in the end zone? If it lands in the end zone, 1 yard deep or more, we're not bringing it out. Or if we're just going to let it land and it's a touchback. It's ball to 25. The league has moved up the touchback line for health reasons for players. So, okay, great. Sounds good. And my buddy's like, man, he's asking me, you think I should bet on it? And I said, I don't know. I mean, listen to Pat McAfee. He knows what he's talking about. But I know this. Those kickers always kick it out of the back of the end zone. I faced them this year. So he sends me the video of Pat, and everyone check it out. And then when it didn't happen, it was chaos. He's gambling a ton of money on the coin toss. And
30 G's.
30 G's on the coin toss, and he lost it. So I know I'm going all over, but Pat is like doing that, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's on Get Up this morning, and like everyone's dialed in on like the guy. Like he's such a fresh. He's a new version of all the old media guys, which they're really successful and awesome what they do. But I appreciate his work, his openness. Obviously, he's brilliant. He's talking to you about XYZ, and now he's doing this with football. Touch on your relationship with Pat and maybe some things that you've noticed him do so well over the years.
I just went because I had heard of him, but I was, as a comedian rolling into 2015, I was disconnected from football. Like, all I cared about was being on the road on the weekends. And if I was driving home Sunday, I wasn't sitting around watching it anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
I was just disconnected. In my 30s, I kind of lost it. And so when I moved to Indy, I had heard about him, and those, some comedians talking shit, because they don't know him, and he's just like this guy using his base and not, he's not really funny. And then he came. We used to do this show on Tuesdays. It's basically an open mic. There would be nobody there, maybe 15 people, but we would work new material out. We'd get off the road, come home Sunday or Monday, and then Tuesday we had our show at Morty's Comedy Club. I didn't know that Pat. I didn't know really anything about him other than he was an NFL punter. He had a great online presence, and he was dabbling in stand-up. So I have a great set that night. Like, I lit it up, and I used to have this joke about sandwiches, and it used to sound like it would started off, I specifically started off sounding sexist. Like I'd start off the joke like, so ladies, how you guys make good sandwiches here in Indianapolis or whatever city I was in, And so it comes off sexist, but then it ended up being like it ends up being a very pro-woman joke, right? So he was there with, at the time, a different, he was dating somebody else, and this was like 7 years ago or 6 years ago. And I just had a set, dude. And I was up there probably for 10 people or 12 people for at least 45 minutes, just having a great time. And then afterwards, he come up to me and goes, dude, I love what I just saw. You're the man, bro. And I was like, and we introduced ourselves. He introduced himself. And then that was it. And then the next day I got a DM he followed me on Twitter, and I got a DM, and he was like, I fucking love your energy. I love what you talk about. My girl made me the best sandwich of my life this morning because of you and your joke. Are you free to open for me on this date? It was like a theater show for 7,000 people or something, or 3,000. It was in Fort Wayne. He goes, I'll give you $7,500. And I was like, what? I mean, I probably had maybe $700 or $800 in my account. So I remember sitting around like, what am I going to do with all this money? Like, what am I going to do with $7,500?
You should have been like, all right, you should have said, I'll do it for 10 G's.
I know. I said, maybe 10. Yeah, you're right. Because I was only doing 20-minute set. But then we just started hanging out all the time. Like, I said, hey, one time I watched some of his stuff, and I was like, hey, I can, with this bit, if you did this, this, and this, like we start working on the writing of it. And then he goes, you want to go to lunch? And I was like, yeah. So we go to lunch. We start talking about comedy and about his writing. And because I was like this, and then I watched him do it, bro. After we started hanging out all the time, we were hanging out every day. And I I watched him, and this guy just has an electricity to him. Like I always call him Neo because he's like Neo from the Matrix. Like he's the chosen one, dude. Whatever he does, he will like anybody around him is like, let's do it then. Like he gets people. You're so pumped to do it. Your whole day now, like once he decides this is what we're gonna do, then bang, everybody's in on it. It's like almost like a military mission. Like him as the leader, the rest of us were behind him, ready to go to war. He has you so juiced. He has you so like motivated, and it just bleeds into you, bro. And next thing you know, you and 3 dudes, your buddies, because then he got to, my partner Todd McComas was a huge Pat fan for years, like monster. Todd is an Indiana guy through and through. He's police detective for 22 years.
Indiana
State PD.
Love Indiana.
Yeah, they do, and they all love Pat, and so I'm hanging out with Pat. And me and Todd live together, and I'm like, dude, he wants me to come over. So we start hanging out. We're writing, and we're hanging out, and then one day Todd comes home, and Pat's hanging out on our couch, and he's like, "The fuck's going on here?" So then they become friends. So now the 3 of us are rolling, and then Todd had his assistant also. And then next thing, like he just thinks of something. Like you don't just wake up and not do shit when you hang out with him. Like you
He
wake
must
up.
be electric to go out with. The guy must be like if you're going out on the town. Hey, we're in here. I mean, the guy
Holy
must be
balls, bro. It's another level of electricity when he goes out. Like he'll like one time, I mean, real quick to finish. And then whatever we did, like if it was time to podcast or if he wanted the idea, we would exhaust every possible option. And then anybody we knew that we didn't know that somebody we knew might know, like whatever it took, we were on a mission for whatever it is what we were doing, and it happened. That's how all the podcasts started. And then again though, but the partying aspect also. For most of the time I was with him when we were early on, he was single. And I was single for then I had a girl, then I was single again. But he'd be like, one time he called, the Penguins were playing Tampa Bay in the conference finals before one of the years they won it, maybe 2016 when they won it all. And he sends out a group text. Hey, were you guys free tonight? And we're like, yeah, what's up, Pat? And he goes, well, come on over about 4:00. The jet leaves at 5:30. We're going to Orlando or whatever the fuck, Tampa, to watch the Lightning. I got a box. We're going to watch the Lightning Pittsburgh game tonight. And it was one of the most electric nights of my life. We get in, we go to his house, we get in a fucking Suburban, we head to the little airport, jump on a private jet, go to Tampa. He has a Vans waiting for us. We get the Vans to the place, escorted through, just have the fucking electric night. Penguins winning, double OT, right back. I mean, he's done that. He did that 3 or 4 different times where he just got a jet and we all went somewhere and just partied. And then in Pittsburgh, we went to Pittsburgh one time and he's in there. He goes to the bartender. He goes, listen, here, he's giving him a few $100 or something. And he goes, anybody who's physically touching the bar right now, the place was packed. I buy him a shot. Just line up. You know what? Just put out 100 shots ready to go right now. By the end of this bar, I was walking around with a bottle of Fireball. Like, no bar lets you do that. No bar gives you a bottle as a customer. I'm walking around just pouring Fireball in people's mouths. I'm standing on the bar pouring it in people's mouths. I was bartending at the upstairs bar. My buddy Bobby, the money guy, was with us. He's wearing a fucking penguin outfit, walking around with a bottle. Pat's buying the bar up. He might have even walked out without a shirt on. I mean, the next day he gets a boat and he turns the casino boat, and then with real money on the line. Like, okay, it was a play casino, right? Play money. But whoever had the most chips at the end, Pat was like, I'll give you $2,000, whoever has the most money at the end of this. I mean, the shit was just a whirlwind of electricity. We're going to the inn. We're going to the race in Detroit. I got a plane. Let's go. Next thing you know, we're at fucking Hard Rock. Everybody's playing craps, winning thousands, bro. Yeah, he's an electric guy. Whether it's business or pleasure, it's electric. And it's 100% consuming. That's why that dude is a rocket ship. And then you just get caught up, right? And you get sucked in and you're on. And it's a great ride. And it's a fucking great time. The guy's electric. And he's just good at everything. Like another level of human. Like doesn't matter what he's doing. He's going to excel at it. If he there's just something in him. I mean, even he throws a football faster and harder than anybody I've ever felt, and he's a punter.
Unreal. He's unreal.
Yeah, he's an unreal dude.
It's cool to hear you say, yeah, a lot of people are like, taking ownership of the $20 chef. Yeah, he gave me the name. No, you're like, I give the guy all the respect in the world for what he did and, what he's done for me. Talk about $20 chef now. Because we could talk McAfee stories all day, but I'm having you on. I got to get Pat on, I guess.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is if we'll get Pat on and you'll pop on and we'll have a good time, all three of us together.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, it'd be great. So talking about $20 chef, is there a favorite moment? Is there a favorite guest? Is there a time you look back and smile like that? We're doing some really good content.
Yeah, you know what? This thing has just exploded to another level, and like, I don't know if it's the entertainer in me that always wants to be better and more. Like, I'm still nowhere happy with where it is, and I want it to go larger. But that's just how it is, I guess. When you're always motivated to keep moving, and never happy. Like, I'm content. I'm happy with the product, but I'm not happy with where it's at. But just having like so much fun and having a producer for that long a time, like a soldier that's gonna film and edit everything, like doing a demolition derby. Like, I've done so much shit that was just so outlandish. Smoking ribs and then doing a demolition derby and almost dying. Like, the show, the main thing I always preach to people is that I'm not an expert. So if I fuck up, just don't do what I do. I've never cooked at a restaurant. When I first started this idea, Pat said, all right, we were at his birthday dinner, maybe his mother's birthday dinner, at Sullivan's in Indy. And the owner started talking with the manager, right? The GM, and got our own little private room, and we're talking, and Pat was like, hey, what about because at first he was like, I'm going to send you to culinary school. That way your shit. And I was like, I guess I'm dropping everything and going to culinary school. Like, that's how your mindset is when you work for Pat, right? And then he was like, all right, no, that's too much. So he got me a job working in the kitchen for free at Sullivan. So I got a job like I lived right next door to it. So for like 3 days a week, I'd just go show up at noon, put on an apron and be like, what do you want me to do? And the chefs, and they all were like cool about it. And I basically did all the shit that the lowest guys on the totem pole were happy to give me to do.
Till you learn.
But I learned. I was learning. And, I did that for about 3 or 4 months. I just had this job that I didn't get paid at just to get in the kitchen and work. And then we started filming. And the main thing I always try to say is, look, I am not an expert. I'm just a dude who likes to cook. If you want to learn from an expert, the internet has a million of them. Go look at Gordon Ramsay, Iran Sanchez. I mean, there's literally a million amazing, classically trained to, all levels of training and experience. Go watch Anthony Bourdain videos. But I'm not that, right? Like,
but you offer a whole other thing. You're like Barstool that's what makes Barstool great is it's unfiltered, it's authentic. Here's who I am, and they bring in those people that feel the same way. Like, yeah, that's Barstool, but Barstool's great logo, great theme, but it's the people that make it up that make it special. You've been in and out of the company. I watch Food Network. I watch Triple D. I love Guy. I watch, all the different shows, and I love food. I love the social aspect of it. I love eating it. But what makes your show special is it's authentic. And you say that. Like, I'm chopping onions. Well, hopefully I don't chop my finger off here. I'm crying. I'm taking shots. You're just yourself. Anybody who doesn't watch it, I encourage you to follow. But nonetheless, is there an experience that happened on that show that molds you who you are today?
What I like about the show is that my favorite part is doing the material, the stand-up material. Like, that's basically my workshop now for stand-up. But now what the show's done for me, it has made me a much better person in the kitchen. Like, beforehand, I needed a recipe. Like, I just didn't have it all in my brain to be like, oh, here's what I'll make, And even now, I'm a stoner, so I don't retain everything. I've done 400 episodes, but I can't remember all that shit, But if I go to a refrigerator and a freezer and I can see what I got, I don't need to look. I go, oh, I could do this. I got that. I start grabbing shit out and I can make something. So what it has done, it has made me definitely a better cook. Like, a cook is a person that follows recipes. A chef is a person that creates recipes, basically. And I'm more chefish. I'm still dog shit compared to any real chefs, but I'm saying on my own scale.
Yeah.
I'm way more chefish than I am cookish because of doing that show so much and having to do so much research and try to keep it fresh. And I can never just like send it in because, I can't. I have to do 8 episodes a month, so I need all the material for that. I need all the different recipes for that. I need to be able to also make sure that it's nothing similar. I can't do the 3 episodes that are similar. You have to, keep on changing it up. And but the main part I love is just being able to just spout off shit from my life, like life stuff, relationship stuff, growing pain stuff, ups and downs stuff, emotional things, or whatever. And a lot of it, but my favorite part definitely is working in all of the material, because I know if people start quoting it in the comments that it can work on stage. That's kind of like what I'll do. And this year alone, I've done a ton that I can't, and I haven't done any stand up. I've written a lot though. I did 80 episodes this year, I think, before I stopped with Barstool. And but the material, I was like, the COVID kind of, because I'm not I don't know, the hustle bustle of Barstool life and all of the politicking and all of the who likes who and who don't like who in the office. It was I was the only thing that turned me off, because I was like, I wasn't really part of any cliques and I wasn't partying with them. And I'm older than most of them. So it just kind of like me being able to have the freedom to have a producer, editor, and then just not being around anybody, just do my own thing, somehow also helps to like kind of refresh, get back to the early stages of this show. But the main part I really loved was just getting out, being outside, like having my own set. I built this cool little butcher block, and that brought, being outside guys also brought out this like want to be outdoors guy. I got a truck now, 4x4 truck, and I got a grill in the back of it chained in. Like I have a grill that goes with me everywhere, a little fire grill, I got a box. I got this outdoor box that like has everything I could possibly need for outdoor chefing. And I got my butcher block and my knives, and I'm ready, bro. Like I'm just this guy, like this like nomad mentality that I've had, but now I'm grounded with a family, but I still have this nomad into me. Like I'm like, all right, well, I can just go right now in my truck. It doesn't matter. I can go anywhere. I can film anywhere. I can do whatever I want. And then I can put it up, and it's going to be authentic because it's what I want to do, not what I have to do.
You're a creator at heart. Just talking to you, just hearing you, obviously seeing what you do, right? That's an easy statement out of me. Like, yeah, you're a creator. Of course, you're a chef more than a cook. The creator side of you has created a life that people would die to live, right? And it's been a grind. You're saying, I have like $700 in my bank account, and you're a comic, a successful comic. You're a $20 chef. You're talking about Pat McAfee. You're talking about, I did 80 episodes this year, like it was nothing with Barstool before you left. Is there creatively something that you're working on now for the future that you're ecstatic about, or something that you worked in the past that you're bringing back to life? Can you touch on what's going on in your life right now creatively?
Yes. So with our podcast, I know that everybody has a podcast now, and no matter how, many followers you have, is 2,000 or 200,000, 200 to 200,000, there's always just the clips of people just hanging out talking, right?
Yep.
So my goal, that's why with this, with the cornhole, I'm like, let's get involved in the cornhole. Like I want to touch on all of the outlandish things that are out there that are going on, activities. So we've been having meetings with the Indiana Speedrome, which is a maniac redneck racing situation. Now, I use redneck loosely because there's not everybody, but look, Indiana people outside of Indianapolis, they're way more southern than they are big city. Okay. So we're working on being able to go live from these. Everybody after this podcast, go and Google figure 8 racing. These guys are in high fucking powered vehicles, monster ass race cars, racing in a figure 8. And I don't mean like there's a bridge that you go under in the middle. I mean like there's like, imagine a stop sign, a 4-way stop intersection without the stop signs. And they race, bro. And it's some kind of black magic where they don't all blow into each other every time. But not only is it this car, and there's big purses, $30,000, $40,000 purses, but not only do they race those cars, but they also have truck and trailer races. So you got guys in old Dodge Rams pulling a fucking fifth wheel, racing and just plowing into each other in the middle. I mean, what they're doing, you can't take your eyes off of. And with the way you can do live streaming now with like a link, I could put a phone in someone's car. As long as there's a signal, I can have an in-camera car now, and I don't have to be ESPN. So we want to, we're going to work on that for this year.
Content.
Yep. Next week, I'm going to Indy And I've pulled all my fucking strings. We got a buddy, one of my buddies that works for the Fuzzy race. He's an engineer with the Fuzzy race team, Fuzzy Vodka race team. They got property that's like a wood processing facility north of Bloomington, like 500 acres. So I got another hillbilly homie that's got all the automatic rifles and all the quads and these. They're called AX-30 cars or something. These little off-road vehicles. They got like 4 of those. So big, and we got about 30 pounds of tannerite. So I want to do like shit people want to watch, and I want to watch shit blow up, shoot, and race. Right. My guy Connor Daly, who's an IndyCar driver with the Air Force team, he'll be out there driving these cars with us. So I kind of work backwards when it comes to creativity. I'm like, okay, what do we have to work with before I have a plan, right? Like, okay, I got 30 pounds of tannerite, automatic rifles, a bunch of awesome people. I got a meat sponsor from Kincaid's Meat Market, which is amazing meat. I got, let's go blow it up. Let's go blow up stuff. Let's do a tactical, like a Survivor style challenge thing, right? Round 1, we have a tactical we're going to have a tactical instructor out there. Todd's calling in one of his cop buddies. So we'll do like a little class of tactical shooting, and then we'll set it up. We'll have 5 guys competing. All right, you got these 10 targets. You got to run through. Whoever hits them all, you're the point leader. And then the next round is clay shooting. The next round, we hop on quads, and we're going to do, hillbilly drive-bys. You got targets. You're trying to then the final one will be automatic rifles and tannerite. We might even be able to blow up an old RV. So like and then we just cook meat and talk shit, right? And like that's the type of shit I want to produce. Like, what else can we do? We got figure 8 racing, we got cornhole, we're gonna be blowing up shit. Like I'm looking for all these things with large crowds, large followings, large popularity, not mainstream, but large. And then, like, let's bring attention to it so that we can bring our base, our demographic, and our numbers, our reach, and then grab it. And that way we have a product so that, these people also want to hire us. So I can make a little bit of money too. I want, I don't know. But then just also for blogging or for the YouTube page, I can make an episode of Chef out there. We could do our podcast content. We'll have just great stuff that we're just of us doing fun stuff. And that's just a couple of like the blowing up stuff, racing cars, cornhole. We got and then whatever else we can get our hands on, And I know there's a couple other things that I'm just forgetting right now.
We'll hit on that stuff. We'll swing back if it pops in you, and just cut me off at any time. The creative side, the hustle and bustle. You're roaring like you're talking about Pat. You're talking about me, where you got to always be doing something. Where did that stem from? Is that a childhood thing? Is that something where you're like 30, like, hey, man, I got to get my act together? Or is that something that you've always had? In high school, you were doing, a little different or whatever that may be. Where's the root of all this?
No, I think it's just from my genetic side of my dad. Like, my dad's a loser. He's a deadbeat, but I still have good genetics. Maybe his decision-making wasn't part of the genetics, but, I have a really famous great-great-uncle, Lalo Guerrero, who's considered he's considered the godfather of Chicano music, which is a big deal, especially, Mexican culture. And he's like part of the Zoot Suit movement in the 60s, 70s, East LA. He's, he was a Spanish voice for Chipmunks in Spanish. He got the Medal of Honor from Clinton. I have another uncle who was really famous in Broadway, Danny Guerrero. So I don't know. I think the creative side is genetic, but I've never been happy being stagnant. Like in high school, I played basketball. I went to high school and I had a job, and I always wanted to do stuff. So I always had I was always planning. Like, what am I going to do? Then I got a job at in a jail, and I worked in a prison for a while. But I was just there until I could get hired on a police force somewhere. Then I got hired at Highway Patrol in Arizona, and then I got a DUI. And then it all got crashing down. Then I was a waiter, and then I just did that. Like, which restaurant can make the most money? I got to go there. Then I found stand-up. And then once that happened, that was a wrap because the dream is so long and, like, never ending. And it was such a drive. Like, I just wanted to do stand-up and get good at it. Like, I would see people destroy. I worked as a waiter at the Improv in Arizona in 2001. I got a job. That's why I started doing stand-up. And I just watched these guys, and I was like, this is fucking unbelievable. I want to do that. I always thought I was funny. You know, I was always a funny guy. And then there was a few people that did stand up there, and they were open micers, and they were like, "You're good, man. You should try it with us." So then I slowly got into it. And then once I got into it, I started getting any kind of laughter. It's just like a drug that it definitely trumps any drug that you could do, being on stage and actually doing well, where motherfuckers are like there is no replacement. And that's the drug where you got to keep getting it. And now you're like, well, I got to write more jokes. Okay, well, these jokes are doing great, but I need to do these jokes in other cities. Now, how do I get to this? Or how do I? So it's always there to keep going, right? And that's just a thing I have in me. Like, I've never been happy just where I'm at. So I don't know. I guess it's good and bad to that, because I've probably fucked myself out of some good situations. But again, would I have been happy 3 years later in that same situation? I don't know. If I would have been hungry, I don't know. I just know that I've had a lot of amazing opportunities, but every time they stop, there could be a down point, but something good always happens. Like, I just got on ESPN after finding out that I won't be with Barstool any longer. So like small things that always keep me going, you know, like I had a car get repoed before, and the next day I got on a movie, you know, like I got a call from a casting director, and I was in a movie while I was on a bus to a show in LA. So like, I guess I would have given up at some point, but every time I'm at a point of giving up, something awesome just hits me right there. Even no matter like if it's financially awesome or not, but it's always opportunity awesome. Where I'm getting like a casting director calling me up. We'd love for you to be part of this movie. You'll be on 45 pages of script. And I was just, now, was that like a major motion picture? No, it was in like a 50 or 60 theaters around the country. But from an artist standpoint, like I was in a movie. I got paid like $2,000. And I had just lost my car, and I was on a bus going to a show that didn't pay. So I at my lowest, bam, the universe always hits me with something when I'm shitty, and that always keeps me going, and it always keeps me like, well, this is a fucking path, man. Like this isn't stopping. This happens for a reason. Like, I'm not religious. Like, I think something's out there. Do I think that we have any idea, especially to know a 500-page book exactly of what happened? No, I don't. If there is something out there we don't know, so I can't say maybe I'm more spiritual than religious. Every time something is just supposed to like I'm supposed to just die and fall off and wither away, something happens to make sure that does not happen. And I believe in it after it's happened so many times in my life that I just know that nothing's going to stop me from keep on going unless I die. Like, that's it. I mean, that sounds cliche and corny. I'm not trying to be fucking Jon Snow over here, but I'm just saying, like, if it keeps on happening, there's a purpose, you know?
You're a grinder, though. That's why I really believe that. Like, yeah, you believe in everything happens for a reason, but you're not sitting around your couch saying, like, some things are going to happen to me. So, yeah, you've had some times where you fell on your face. Admittedly, you talked about it on here. I've read about it, but it doesn't define you. And then you're just nonstop, it seems. When the DUI happened, you were trying to become a police officer, it seems, and then it got to Dewey, and it was all over.
Yeah, I lost a job at the jail, which was a lot of money then for me. And then I lost that job, and then I was about to leave for the academy in 2 months for the highway patrol in Arizona, and that went away. So that's when I just left that whole city of Yuma, Arizona, went to Phoenix, and just started over.
And you could have been a state trooper right now. We're probably not talking on the phone. We're not doing this podcast. And
we're definitely not.
No, and I'm a fly on it. You know what's but like I'm nothing. But I mean, your career has just been incredible because of you haven't let anything define you. And again, I'm not Jon Snow either, but that's just the truth. Were you a class clown growing up? Were you the guy that was just constantly cracking jokes? Is that how you have your rhythm of being a comic?
You know, I moved around a lot as a kid. Like, we lived in 5 different states before I was 15. And I was.
You guys move around so much?
What's that, what?
Why were you guys moving around so much?
Well, my mom, it would be a combination of my mom not wanting us to live a certain place, and then also her relationships and getting married and stuff a couple times.
Okay.
But I would just always kind of funny. I always loved making my mom laugh, and it always kind of worked out. But I couldn't get in trouble in school, or I'd get in way more trouble at home. Like, my mom beat my ass. So I found just like a nice medium ground of being funny, but in a complimentary way, not in a rude way where I would get sent away or sent out of class or in trouble, because I didn't want to get my ass beat when I got home. So But I was, I got like I'm still bitter to this day that I got runner-up class clown my senior year, but God damn it. The other guy that beat me though is still a good buddy of mine. He's a poker dealer at the World Series of Poker. But it's just always been there. I've just always loved it. Just this is something about it, and it's the easiest way to get accepted when you're, a new kid. If you're funny, then you're in. So it's like the comedy. If you're funny, when you get off stage, and if you relate and you really resonate to the crowd, they wait afterwards. They will open their world up to you. If you say you needed something on stage, and if they loved your stuff and they relate to you, they'll come and they'll offer up their whole life like you've known them for 15 years. And it just feels good because I know how hard it is to make friends, and for anybody to ever say, I got this or that, we could do that. Like now on the podcast, if we say, damn, man, I can't wait. I want a gig box. I just want a box that holds my gear. I love gig boxes. And we start looking at gig boxes. Next thing you know, people are like, dude, my work has 10 gig boxes about to throw away. Where can I ship them? Because people just like, it's something about being relatable and funny and just cool that people open up their lives to you if in some manner, in a very polite and endearing way. And that feeling never goes away of like being appreciative and grateful and like almost like wow, that people shouldn't do this. It's too nice.
Where did you get your big break?
I guess I started working with Gabriel Iglesias. That's how I got on TV. But I was a waiter at the Improv, and I used to hang out with his merchandise manager. It was my homie. And still to this day is one of my best friends. That was in 2001 I met him. It was my homie Ivan. He still works for Fluffy. And we became homies. And then every time they would come into the town, which was like once or twice a year at least, we'd always hang out. And I'd get him weed and stuff. And, not Fluffy, but, Ivan. Fluffy's not really a smoker. And then when I moved to LA, we'd start hanging out. We started hanging out all the time in Silver Lake. And then I started hanging out with Felipe Esparza, who won Last Comic Standing. And we became roommates. And I was in that movie with him and Paul Rodriguez. And then I started hanging out with Fluff. So I guess kind of then when I moved to LA is when I let it all go to move to LA. And then I lost everything. I guess like you have to lose everything in order almost in a certain manner. And then kind of things start coming your way. But it's a very slow drip. But when Gabriel Iglesias asked me to go on tour with him, I guess I'd say that was one of the larger kickoffs. I did a few TV things before that with Felipe, but Felipe hadn't blown up yet. We were homies. He was still very popular on Comedy Central and very funny and amazing mentor and stand up. Very very hard mentor too, like a coach almost. Like if you were not doing right, he let you know, and he didn't sugarcoat it. And then, but with Gabriel, we went on tour, and then I started getting real funny. I got funnier and funnier. And then I auditioned for his Comedy Central show, and I got on 2 out of 3 of the seasons. Which that's the real notoriety is when you get on Comedy Central as a comedian, and then it also allows you to like not need to prove yourself every time, because now you have a body of work that proves itself. Like I'm funny enough to be on Comedy Central. Now I'm not funny enough to have an hour special, but I am working towards that. So I would let like before TV, like every single set, I didn't give a fuck where I was at. I'm like, no, I'm crushing. I'm not going to try new material. I'm going out there and murdering. And then once you get on TV, I was like, it kind of relieves it so that for me personally, that I could kind of like try other shit that I know isn't proven yet. And then, but Gabriel put me on the map pretty hard with his tour and his Comedy Central credits, me being on his shows. And then, but then again, after I left his camp, I was just kind of like in my own little rut. I ended up living on a couch for a few months before I moved to Indianapolis, where then I was the only dude that left LA for comedy. Like, who the fuck leaves LA? But nothing was going my way. I mean, my comedy, though, was the best it had ever been. I was ripping. And then I moved to Indiana, and then I ended up meeting Pat and Todd and everybody at the Morty's Comedy Club. We just built this thing there, and then with Pat, it just went through the ceiling until I, through Barstool.
You seem like a guy who maintains connections. Every time you're talking through your stories here, it's like I met his friend who's in business, and I stayed with this guy and that guy and Pat and this, and that brought me to Barstool, and it got me here, and now I got my own thing, and I have my own connections. Talk about the value of those connections and what they mean to you, because building those bridges, maintaining those bridges, and burning very few. It's been key to me, my success on and off the field. talk about your connections and what they mean to you and how important that is to your success.
You know, I think one of the most important things is that when you do meet people in any kind of realm that could possibly be a networking situation, that you don't look at it like that. You know, like I never looked like when I was hanging out with Ivan, I saw it was cool perks that I could be around something, but I never assumed that by hanging out with him that it would lead to me being on tour with Gabriel, that would lead to me being on Comedy Central. You know, I have burned some bridges. I'm not happy with it, and I wish I could change some things I've done in the past. But also, as I've grown, I've learned to like just suck it up. And if I wanted to say something, I just write it down, or you know, write it and email it, never send it, kind of thing. Because there's some people in my past, and I wish I was still cool with. But for the greater part, like the goal I always thought, or the goal was that, you know, if something don't go your way, you know. And I have a lot of pride at, you know, points in my life where I'm very strong-willed dude and I'm ready to talk some shit, you know. But then I would just say, well, I'm just happy that it happened. I think that more people would adapt the I'm just happy that happened. No matter how shit ends, just be grateful it happened. And it goes a long way. You know, like some people leave Barstool and they didn't leave. They left fucking talking shit to everybody on the way out. And to me, that's just a losing, like, no matter what, if I'm pissed off about a couple of things or I'm not, if I look back, before I started there, I might have had 6,000 followers on Twitter, or I had like 500 on Instagram, and I had no show, no content, no nothing, no body of work. 4 years later, I have 400 or so episodes of a show. I have 2 fucking fights. I had my own radio show on Sirius. I've worked with amazing people. My reel of celebrities that have been on my show is mind-boggling for my own vision. So, like, at the end, were there moments where I was like, I wanted to explode in some videos and talk some shit? Yeah, but guess what? There is zero benefit to that. So I'm just happy with what happened and what came to life, as opposed to pissed off about what's ended and what won't happen any longer. So I think that's really the key, is to, you know, how you exit the building, you know. And I've exited fucking busting down doors and it's never been positive to this day. But more often I've left with well, I'm pissed off, but I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say thanks for, everything that went down. You know, that's all you can really do. And then anything more than that, you're just being a piece of shit. Like, yeah, and I get it. I get pride, and I get, you know, you feeling you've been wronged or whatever. But I also understand that a lot of times that we don't see when we are fucking up what they see. So I can't necessarily have the right perception in order to explode and be in the right, because I don't know, because I don't know what they see. So that's why I'm always like, you know what? Thanks for everything. Thank you. Thanks for giving me this platform. Thanks for giving me a producer. Thanks for letting me have insurance. Thanks for letting me get my teeth fixed. Thanks for giving me a bonus every year. You know what I mean? Thanks for letting Penn stock fucking go to 130, and I bought a whole bunch early in the year. Now I'm still nowhere near any kind of level of money, but I still have more than ever because I believed in the company I worked in, and I bought most of my savings. I bought into Penn, and now it's fucking, I've made probably 60% or 70% gains this year on it.
That's crazy. That's a whole other story. What Dave's doing and what Penn's doing and that whole nine. It's brilliant. And they're brilliant at what they do, and they do a lot of good. I want to touch on really what I think of when I talk about connections, and Pat Croce, who was associated with the Sixers and ran the Sixers all through, like Allen Iverson, and when they played Shaq and Kobe, and he pretty much the creator of NovaCare and physical therapy. He's a brilliant man. He's a family friend. He always said collect friends. And I love that. And that's pretty much what you're saying, is like, I'm not here to like build relationships so I can get all these opportunities. Like, yeah, I'm just collecting friends along the way. And I think you said, yeah, I made mistakes. I left buildings the way I shouldn't have. But, you know, you like you said, I think because you always say, always these good things happen after these bad things. But I think because of you learn how to handle the bad things so well, it seems. You're seasoned with it. You're like, all right, on to what's next. And that what's next kind of with mentality, and I use that because that's what Coach Rule always says with Carolina, but that what's next kind of thing has gave you so many opportunities. Like, I'm on a bus, now I just got a job. I had a DUI the night before. So, that's crazy for me. And like you said too, the hit for me, and I'm just reviewing some of my notes here. It's mind-boggling for my vision, or I'm a great chef compared to what my standards were. When you're a kid growing up, like, what were your thoughts for your future of yourself? Because it sounds like you were just crushing everything that you thought of yourself when you were growing up a little bit.
I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to talk a lot, which means that I remember saying that I had a pair of UCLA sweatpants, and I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to law school. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I like to talk. So I guess another part of it is like I wanted to talk. I didn't want to fucking go to law school. I just wanted to be, like I wanted to somehow let my personality or whatever shine in a talking manner. So I guess I kind of did know what I wanted as a little kid, but I really didn't know, until I got because I didn't know what stand-up comedy was until I was like probably 13 or 14. I don't know, whatever that, I could watch Def Jam. And then I saw Martin doing crowd work, and I just was like, what is this? This is amazing. And so that's when I got into it. And that's when it started really, like, I was just obsessed with Def Jam. And I was like this. But then even though I was obsessed with it and I loved it so much, it never crossed my mind that I want to do it. I just liked it. I never thought that I could do that. But then, I did stand up once before I got a job at the Improv, an open mic contest that all my friends dared me to do. But that was it. It was still not a career thing. Not until I got the Improv and I saw it unfolding in front of me, how these guys live. And I worked there for a year and a half, and week in, week out, watching 3 or 4 comics just rip. TV guys, all the way to guys that didn't sell tickets, all the way to Joe Rogan, where he'd have 10 weekends sold out in a row. And, and then just watching the energy of a room. And then I just kind of figured it out then. I figured it out as I went. I didn't have the dream early or anything. I just knew that I loved it. Like when I watched Martin talking shit to Lawrence Taylor, or the chick wearing the yellow suit looking like Big Bird. And like that shit just hit me so hard. And, obviously when I got that job at the Improv, that's when I knew that that's what I wanted to do after a few months of being there and then getting on stage.
Talk about Rough and Rowdy. Can you explain it to those that have no idea? Because I would say, I don't know what the demographic's going to be that's listening to this podcast now, but I will in a couple episodes. Rough and Rowdy. Explain it to someone who really wouldn't know what it is.
Rough and Rowdy is the gist is basically it's a tough man competition. 3 rounds, 1 minute round, 3 1-minute rounds, and you just do untrained dudes off the street just fucking scrapping it out. They bought it right after I got hired on with Pat, and for like, I don't know, I'd say a year and a half or so before I got with Barstool. And I was still friends with Pat, but I also became friends with UFC fighter Chris Lytle. And Indiana has a widespread amount of just professionals and like superstars that live there. You got IndyCar drivers, you got fighters, you got, football, not baseball, but I became friends with Chris Lytle. He came to a show. I started, busting on him a little bit about beating his ass in the crowd. And it was a packed house. And next thing you know, me and him got drunk as shit until like 3 a.m. at the bar by ourselves. And he was like, hey, listen, I love what you do. If you ever want to train. And as a kid, all I wanted to do was train. Like I just wanted to be a fucking Van Damme, growing up. And I was like, I would love to train. I would love to, learn. And he goes, okay, well, come learn then. So I started going to their train IBG gym with him, Matt Mitrione, mostly Lytle and some other guys that, Andrew Holbrook was another UFC guy. He's not in the UFC any longer, but just amazing fighters, all, triple jiu-jitsu black belts, boxers. And it was a little war zone in there every weekend. I mean, every day, Monday through Friday, like we'd go in there at 8 or 9 a.m. And I just got thrown to the fucking wolves. Like you start doing jiu-jitsu, you start learning, and you start boxing. And that's where I started to learn how to hit people that you're not mad at, because it's very hard. Like when you just say, okay, let's spar. Like if me and you sparred, if you've never sparred before, you would feel very bad about hitting me.
Unless you hit me in the nose, then I'd hit you.
Yeah. Exactly. That does get you fired up.
Yeah.
But it's still, when you're fighting a buddy, it's still weird, right? It's a weirdness because when you take away the emotion and the fucking the fire of fighting, but I mean like the meanness, and it becomes sport instead of revenge or whatever, or anger. When you take away the anger, I meant the anger and the emotion. It's such a different thing. And then I was just there and I was hooked, bro. I'm fucking in there getting, I got dropped a bunch of times. I got fucking choked out. I never won one round of jiu-jitsu outside of anybody that was shittier than me. Like, that's just a sport. I don't care how much you weigh versus how much the other guy weighs. If the littler guy knows jiu-jitsu, you're going to lose. I don't care how big the big guy is. It doesn't matter. But I just got addicted to it. And then I started getting good at it, pretty decent at it. And then anytime a new guy would come in, I was the guinea pig that they would always make them spar me because I was the newest guy of the old dudes. So the other guys would bring in a friend and be like, all right, this guy's he's an Indiana police officer. He wants to learn how to start boxing better. So he'd just come in with us and train with all the pros in the morning. Not me, but I train with the pros because that's what they all did their shit in the mornings. Anybody just training for real fights, they were all in there with Lytle because Lytle's one of the best coaches. Plus, they have other amazing coaches at that place. It's an amazing place for fight camp. And so I just started fighting all the time. And I was just fighting. You look at my Instagram from 2016, 17, you can just see where I'm with all the guys. And we're just doing jiu-jitsu and boxing all the time. And I'm getting my fucking bell rung and busted up teeth and nose. But it was like a small fight club in there, And that's where and then I was just getting really confident at it. And then one day Dave was at our office, at the Pat's office, and he was like, talk about rough and rowdy, and I just fucking spouted up, bro. And I was like, I'll do that. I'll do rough and rowdy. I'll fight anybody at the other office. Because I was like, dude, I've been fighting animals. I'll fight anybody over there. And so out of nowhere, we didn't talk about it. We didn't plan it. After Rough and Rowdy number 1, Dave just goes on the air and goes, and the next one, we got the $20 chef fighting. We don't know who, but he's fighting somebody in this office. So that's when I was like, and then I just started getting blown up on Twitter. Like, yo, Dave just said you're fighting in Rough and Rowdy. And I was like, I guess I am. I didn't know. I volunteered. I never got any clearance or anything. And then that was it. And then they talked Smitty into fighting me. And then it was on from there, bro. And then I was so fucking confident. I was beating up everybody in spar training. I also got my ass beat a bunch of times from some serious pros, some serious guys too. But I was just fighting. Like, my trainers would bring in 3 or 4 dudes for me to spar in a day. So you'd go, all right, 2 rounds versus him, 2 rounds versus him, 2 rounds versus him, 2 rounds versus him, like back to back, And then, I mean, a couple of dudes just fucking lit me up. There's definitely footage of my blood clots just flying around Pat's gym, and then Pat would be in the background. Quit getting blood all over my court, Latham, And then I also learned a very valuable lesson that when you step into a real fight, it's about the difference of here to Mars compared to sparring. Sparring is still real fighting. But when you step into a real fight, like when we stepped in that ring with Smitty, I know that if me and Smitty fought 10 times, I would beat him right now, 8 out of those 10. But because of training, right? Only because now if he trained as much as I did, he'd probably beat me. He's a stronger, athletic dude. More athletic, better genetics, stronger, faster. But I know that an untrained Smitty versus me because that first one, you're just chaos. Like, what the fuck? You're throwing haymakers. Like, you forget all training because fight or flight comes in. And then after I lost a split decision, Matt Mitrione called me up and he was like, he's a Bellator badass, UFC Bellator guy. And he was like, how'd you like it? Did you forget everything when you walked into the ring? I was like, yep. He goes, all right, well, listen, fuck that you lost. He goes, you just did something that less than 1% of the human race will ever do because they're too much of a bitch to do it. He goes, so think about that when you're sad about losing. He goes, now, do you want to do it again? I go, I think so. He goes, all right, now we have something to talk about. Now it's really time to work. You've got the feeling. You know what it's like to fucking lose your brain in there with a first fight. Now let's get you trained up more and get you focused so when you step in there again, it's a sport and you're not upset and emotional. So that's what happened. Then I trained for a little while after that. Then I moved to New York. And then that other dude I fought started chirping up on his Twitter, which I didn't know how tall or whatever. We asked him how much he weighed. He said, I weigh $190 or something. I was like, all right, it's on. I could beat it 200 pounds for this. So luckily the second fight, I knocked him out in 15 seconds. But Rough and Rowdy it's a maniac. It's so much fun to watch and be a part of. It's the easiest $20 you could ever spend. Just for the entertainment factor, from Dave and Big Cat, commenting. You got Caleb and Roan out there doing those funny ass interviews. From all the maniacs fighting and what they do during training and all the videos they put out, and then when the fights happen, it's just an electric $20, dude. I mean, electric. And it's amazing to be a part of it.
Dave Portnoy and the personalities at Barstool. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to him about what he's up to now. He's not with Barstool anymore. But Barstool is Barstool. They're a giant, and it seems you're comfortable with it. What are they like, Dave, and the personalities at Barstool?
What I liked about Dave, me and Dave never had that he never like bashed me publicly and shit like that. He did towards the end a couple of times in a funny fashion, but he was like me. He and I just had a different thing. Like I wasn't one of his interns that he would just fucking lay into like little pigs, like he does with Tommy Smokes and Jerry. Everybody, like, right now, all those guys are awesome. I didn't click with everybody, but like Dave, Big Cat, those guys are great dudes. Like Dave was always what I like about Dave the most is like the straight shooter aspect of it. There's never a guessing game. A lot of times you have a boss where things are a guessing game. Where do I stand? What's going on? What's happening? There's never walking on eggshells. Like he tells you straight up, like you go to his office, you have a meeting, you say whatever you got to say. He says whatever he has to say. It's all on the table. That's what I love the most is that he'll talk a lot of like, he goes off on YP, and look, what did fucking YP call Dave gutless on a video? Yeah, he did. Like, but as at the same time, like if Dave is in your shit, there's a reason. Like you're not something's up. You're not doing something up to a certain standard. And luckily, I just kept my head down and grinding out my episodes into my radio show. Whenever he took my radio show off, he's like, "Listen, here's what's happening. There's only a couple of shows that even can get cut from here. You're one of them. You're the newest guy. Gambling's taking over. I need a spot for gambling." And I was like, "Thanks for the opportunity." I had a radio show on Sirius XM for 15 or 16 months. Thank you very much.
Huge.
Obviously the only thing that sucks about Barstool is that you have to deal with the little bitch ass trolls, their little fake accounts, right? There's no real troll that has an actual face on it. Like they're all hiding because they're all little bitches. The little trolls, right? Not Stewies. Stewies are amazing people.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere I go, motherfuckers are buying me beers. You know what I mean? Like out of the woodwork. It doesn't matter where I've been. Someone rolled up, "Hey chef, I love what you do." Even if it's one person in the fucking sticks, there's always somebody. And they're amazing. That's the only thing that sucks is the dealing with the faceless trolls. But Dave was always a straight shooter. Big Cat was always cool. Like me and Big Cat never did shit together. He was at his own busy schedule, and I wasn't a gambling sports guy. Like I'm a lifestyle guy. I'm drinking. I'm experienced guy. Relationships. Life, food, activities. So I wish I would have done some more stuff with some people. I didn't. I don't know. I don't know if. I don't know why. Some days that's one of the bigger concerns. Not concern. I'm not concerned about it. I just like, those wonders in the back of your brain. You're like, why didn't I get to do more stuff with these guys? Like, why wasn't I brought in to do the rundown or all these other stuff when I came on, like when every other new person comes on. But again, I never questioned it. And I never came in. I should have came in like gangbusters like other people do. Like they come in talking shit to everybody or just being loud in everybody's face. I've always walked in like, "Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm just happy to be here." I don't want to walk in like some cocky pig that can talk shit to everybody. Like I just don't have that in my personality. So I always thought that it would happen because after I got there and met some people, it was cool. They think I'm funny. My show's funny. Hey, come on this show or come on that show. It just never happened for whatever reason. I just wasn't invited or welcomed. I don't know. Again, there's that perspective thing, right? Like maybe I did something that irked them early, which I thought I was being cool by staying in my own lane, but again, looking back, maybe when you walk in and you act like you're the fucking shit right out the gate, it's more of a way to enter there, but I just not what I could do because it's just not my style. But they're good people, man. They work hard, like do I like everybody in there? No. Do I think that they're all talented? No. There's a ton of talented people there, though. Do I think some people get away with absolute murder? Yeah, I do. But that's how it is at any job. It's not special. Everybody listening has a job knows there's somebody at that fucking job that shouldn't be there. But again, that's not my concern. Like I can have an opinion about it. We can do the same thing here. Like I'm sure people in that fucking locker room, somebody's an asshole that probably they can probably replace with somebody else just as talented but way cooler or nicer. But again, that's not a you thing.
No,
we all can have opinions.
Pro sports, football, microcosm of society, right? You have good people, you have your bad people, and 99% of the people are good, right? That's the issue with the world too that we live in today. Is 99% of the people are good, but the people in the 1% there, when referring to good or bad humans, the bad 1%, they get the quote unquote news, and that's a huge topic that just drives me absolutely insane. People associate with it. This is the truth, and there's a lot of good going on in the world. There really is in your neighborhood. You know, we talked about Belmar a little bit before you went on air, and Kelly's, and all the great people there, and there's a lot of good going on in the world. And I appreciate you giving us a little insight on Barstool. You know, a lot of people love what they do. You talked about Dave Pointer, obviously Portnoy, he's a power. Joe Rogan, he's a big power. Joe, you know, comedy, he's right up your alley with a lot of the things that you do. And then a podcast like that at the #1 in the world. And it's just an unreal thing. Do you know Joe? Can you touch on anything about Joe, his success?
I don't know Joe. I've briefly chatted with him at the Improv, you know, back in the day when I was in LA still, but I never knew him. You know, first conversation I ever had with him was in 2001, and I think it was just after Fear Factor. Maybe he was still there, but he was still selling out the entire weekend, you know, 3,000 tickets. That was in 2001 he was doing that. And the story he told, he was telling us how the Bulls balls that they had to eat one episode, how terrible it smelled. I remember the conversation we had when we spoke about, but, you know, that was just like from a fan perspective, where I was just a fan of his, and he was after the show hanging out with the staff, you know, just kind of shooting the shit. I love what he does. I love his work ethic. I love everything he does, and it's kind of like a model of almost what has to happen these days. You know, now how high you skyrocket's different, but being involved in several things, you know, keeping your time frame, keeping busy, you know, being creative. He's in fighting, he's in comedy, he's in production. He has TV shows, radio shows, stand up. I mean, you know, talent. He develops talent. So many people came up through the Joe Rogan camp.
Sounds like McAfee a little bit.
Yeah, it does. The only difference is that Pat is the main guy. Like, Pat has guys. He doesn't have like a roll of comedians around him that he wants to shoot up on the road. Like, he has guys that work with him every day, right? And those guys are all exploding. I mean, half of his producers are about to pass me on Twitter if they already haven't. And you know, that's amazing. It was more of a freelance thing with Joe Rogan with his comedians, right? As opposed to a day in and day out with Pat. But again, Pat, look what he did for me. Look what he did for Todd. Look what he does for people. There is that Joe Rogan aspect to it. Except Pat has a camp where you're all there all the time, as opposed to Joe Rogan where you're guests and that, you know.
Yeah.
I would like to see, you know, Joe Rogan can easily do his own version of Barstool with his own, you know, his own facility. Like, he could do the Pat kind of Barstool thing if he wanted. But again, it's much different. Like, his thing, like, he's out hunting, like doing his, he doesn't want that commitment. And I understand that, you know, I get that.
Yeah. He's got his own little stick. That's interesting. And I've learned a little bit from everybody, guys like yourself too. I'll be honest. I try to study and learn and not just float around and try to scroll through my Instagram, but like, okay, this is pretty cool. I like what they're doing. Yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on today. I can't wait to get together up in that Belmar area. Shout out to Shillelagh Club. Shout out to Kelly's, a place I grew
Kelly's
up.
Neptune.
Kelly's Neptune. That's your spot right down the street. Shout out to the great Lou Hansen, who passed away. He's a Neptune legend, born and raised. He's a Marine, and he recently passed away. And we got to go to Kelly's this weekend for some drinks and honor him. But Shaun Latham, plug what you're up to, where they can follow you, what the latest is here before we wrap it up.
You know, obviously $20 Chef Instagram or whatever. Across the board, I have $20 Chef on all the social medias. My name's Shaun Latham. You know, get it going there. And my podcast, my partner's Gunz Blazin Podcast. Now it's Gunz Blazin without the G. We kind of figured it out afterwards. There's another a huge soccer podcast called Gunz Blazing or something like that with a G. Either way, we're Gunz Blazin. Me and my buddy Todd McComas. We're just having a good time, man. He's an ex-cop. I'm just a stoner. He's life after cop, and we're just both two comedians and just trying to talk shit, have fun, and do some interesting stuff. And also, yeah, we're trying. Oh, you know what? I'm not getting into it, but what I was forgetting was bare knuckle boxing. We're talking to them about working with them because that was just some electric shit. We went to it this weekend. Oh, bro, if you want to see some electric shit, go get the bare knuckle BKFC app and watch some of their fights. It's like sanctioned bar fights, but with only people who know how to fight really well. And it's just electric, bro, if you're into fighting. But, this is another thing we're trying to, get involved with. But that's what we're doing, man. Just our podcast, Gunz Blazin Podcast, and $20 Chef, and then just going to keep pushing and see where it all goes. And you, by the way, I love your motivation. I love that, you're already living, you've become a fucking NFL tight end. You're scoring touchdowns this year, and you're like, I love that, but I need more. Like, and that's, again, you're a young dude. You're hungry. It's clear, and you don't have that thing inside you where you feel like you're an elite human above others. Like, you're the one reaching out to me, and I felt good. And you seem like a great guy. You're down to earth and just an enjoyable person to talk to, man. I look forward to watching your career just fucking keep on skyrocketing.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna have to now make a trip up. We'll have to meet at your little local watering hole.
Yeah,
Kelly, it's crazy, man. Again, appreciate you coming on. Comic. Those are my notes now. Here's what you are from what we talked about.
Okay.
Comic, stoner, chef, fighter, creator, traveler. Just a man. I really appreciate you coming on. Shaun Latham, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.
And thank you to Shaun Latham, $20 Chef, for joining Not For Long Media. We really appreciate it, Shaun. Obviously, you guys got to see how much of a character Shaun is. We loved having him on the podcast. Definitely an animated person, a comic, a chef, a little bit of everything. He's doing he's color commentary for Cornhole, like he talked about at the beginning of the episode. So, Shaun, really appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to heading up there to Belmar, Kelly's, the Shillelagh Club, having some drinks and some Reubens. Thanks, man. Truly appreciate you coming on. But hey, before everyone goes, make sure you check out Wealth Advisory Services. They're the best. Paul Jenkins, just awesome guys that I've had the chance to work with now. And I've had plenty of advisors thrown at us as NFL players, as professional athletes. Obviously, an advisor wants to work with those guys, but been able to work with these guys at Wealth Advisory Services for years now. And they just are true people that I trust and have had the ability to learn a lot from, which is key, because really, I don't know a ton about the business side of it, the industry, the big words, the stuff that I'm afraid of, but I'm learning more. And thanks to you guys at Wealth Advisory Services to help us out. And another sponsor, the original Fudge Kitchen, the best fudge, family business. Really lucky to be a part of what they're doing over there. So addicting. I try not to eat it in season. I still do. We were eating it down in Carolina. Now in the off season, yeah, I'm going to dabble a little bit. And I like the peanut butter the best. Chocolate's good. All the stuff's great. So again, the original Fudge Kitchen, Wealth Advisory Services. Check them out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Not For Long Media. Have a great day.